The wedding ceremony was lively and deafening beneath the stage. Cheers erupted non-stop as the guests shouted in unison. "Kiss her! Kiss her!" The girl in the spotless white wedding gown gently bit her lip, her eyes filled with shy hesitation. Daniel Foster reached out, held the back of her neck, bent down little by little, and pressed the kiss deeper. I stood beneath the stage, completely frozen, silently watching the two of them entwined amid the joyous cheers. One of Daniel Foster's close friends happened to turn around and caught sight of me. His expression changed instantly, and in his fluster he blurted out, "Sister-in-law." The once boisterous venue suddenly fell into silence. I walked toward Daniel Foster at an unhurried pace. The girl beside him grew frightened, retreating a step and secretly hiding behind his back. Yet Daniel Foster showed not the slightest trace of guilt or panic at being caught cheating by his fiancée on the spot. He laughed casually, pulled the girl into his arms, and a mocking glint appeared in his eyes. "Emily Carter keeps insisting on marrying me," he said lightly. "Don't worry, we haven't registered anything yet. The only Mrs. Foster will always be you." Daniel Foster and I were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. After graduation, under the arrangements of our two families, we became engaged. He was notorious for being a playboy, changing girlfriends as easily as changing clothes, and he had embarrassed me more times than I could count. But today, right in front of so many people, he staged such a grand farce for me. I let out a soft laugh, my gaze cold and indifferent, then took a square brocade box from my bag and held it out in front of him. "This is the Foster family heirloom bracelet. I'm returning it to you." Daniel Foster took it, slowly turning it in his hand, the corners of his lips lifting in unmistakable sarcasm. "Just to make me break up with Emily Carter, you're even willing to give back the bracelet this time?" His eyes were filled with doubt, as if he couldn't believe I truly dared to do this. I answered him calmly, my tone steady and every word clear. "Daniel Foster, from today on, our engagement is officially over. From now on, whoever you marry and whoever I marry will have nothing to do with each other." The smile on his lips instantly stiffened. "Grace Miller, say that again." Sensing that things were going badly, the friend beside him hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over. "Sister-in-law, don't be angry. This wedding doesn't count. Daniel was just joking. The person he truly wants to marry is you." But I didn't care. Witnessing my own fiancé marrying another woman was truly not something easy to accept. Even so, I neither cried nor made a scene. I simply turned around and left calmly. "Daniel, you're really not going after her?" someone asked. Daniel Foster leaned against the banquet table, laughing casually. "Why would I chase her? Hasn't it always been like this before? In a few days, she'll obediently come back on her own." The man beside him frowned. "But this time is different. Put yourself in a woman's position, who could endure seeing the person she loves marry someone else? I think you'd better go take a look." Daniel Foster fell silent and looked toward the entrance, his gaze darkening. At that moment, Emily Carter suddenly tugged lightly at his sleeve and spoke softly. "Can you let me take a look at that bracelet?" I left the wedding and called my best friend, Lily Thompson, asking her to meet me at a bar for a few drinks. When she arrived, the 2 bottles of red wine on the table were already empty. Lily swept her eyes over them and immediately understood. "You fought with Daniel again? This time was it some celebrity or a college student?" Just hearing his name made my heart ache as if it had been pierced by needles. "He got married today." After listening to the entire story, Lily immediately grabbed a bottle of liquor, grinding her teeth. "You should have dumped him a long time ago." "Fine, I'll pull you into a group chat. It's full of top-tier guys in our circle, you can take your pick." My phone suddenly started ringing non-stop. I glanced at it. In less than a minute, there were already more than 30 friend requests. "I'm going to the restroom for a bit." In the corridor, a man in a suit stood there, completely out of place amid the bar's lively atmosphere. Several buttons of his shirt collar were undone. He leaned against the wall, slowly taking a drag from his cigarette, exuding a dangerous, unapproachable air. As if sensing my gaze, he frowned slightly and slowly looked up. "Jason Quinn, why are you here?" I walked over, gave a faint smile, and said, "Mr. Quinn, could you spare me a cigarette?" He raised an eyebrow, his tone carrying a hint of mockery. Didn't I hear that after being with Daniel Foster, you became a well-behaved girl? Aren't you afraid he'll find out you smoke? I didn't answer. I simply reached into his jacket pocket in silence, took out his cigarettes and lighter, and lit one with practiced ease. Smoke drifted into the air as a faint smile flickered in my eyes. Jason Quinn looked at me and said, "Come home with me tonight." Our eyes met. With words already spoken this far, two adults naturally understood what it meant. Jason Quinn stubbed out the cigarette in the ashtray and let out a low laugh. I suddenly remembered that he was famous for keeping his distance from women. I was just about to joke and explain that I was only teasing, when he calmly nodded in agreement instead. Jason Quinn used my fingerprint to unlock the door. In the very next second, he pressed me hard against the wall beside us. His large hand gripped the back of my neck as he lowered his head and kissed me deeply. "Grace Miller, are you a puppy?" he said in a low voice. "Be gentle. Don't bite so hard." I frowned slightly. "Can you shut up?" At this moment, what he should be doing was making it impossible for me to say another word. All night long, Jason Quinn used his actions to teach me what it truly meant that disaster comes from the mouth. It wasn't until the sky was nearly bright that I finally fell asleep. Yet my phone started ringing non-stop. Half asleep, I reached out sluggishly, groping across the bed. A low chuckle sounded beside me. Jason Quinn picked up the phone and saw a video message from Daniel Foster. His expression instantly darkened. He handed the phone to me and at the same time pulled the blanket up, covering me all the way to my collarbone. I tapped to accept the call, forcing my eyes open through the haze of drowsiness. On the other end, Daniel Foster gave a cold laugh. "Didn't you say yesterday that from now on everyone marries their own and we have nothing to do with each other? And yet, in less than a day, you've already gone to my mother to badmouth Emily Carter." I frowned, irritated, and sat up abruptly. "Who went to look for your mother? Are you out of your mind? It's early in the morning. What are you going crazy over?" But the moment the words left my mouth, I froze. My voice was hoarse, so hoarse it was almost unbearable to hear. Daniel Foster paused for a moment. "Grace, are you sick?" I let out a laugh, pretending not to understand. Suddenly, he fell silent, then raised his voice sharply. "Where are you right now? Who are you with?" I replied slowly, my tone carrying a lazy indifference. "Mr. Foster, we no longer have any relationship. Where I am and who I'm with have nothing to do with you." I was truly exhausted and didn't want to waste another word, so I decisively hung up the call. At the bar, Daniel Foster's expression turned extremely ugly. "Brother Foster, she actually dared to hang up on you?" someone exclaimed. "Could she really be serious about canceling the engagement this time? That's impossible. Isn't this just her old trick again? If she really wanted to break it off, could she bear to do it? She's obviously putting on an act, pretending to be with another man to make you jealous, so you won't be able to help yourself and go look for her. These tricks are ancient." The people around him burst out laughing. Only then did Daniel Foster's expression ease slightly. The phone call had mostly chased away my sleepiness. I frowned in discomfort. Jason Quinn saw straight through my mood and spoke in a cool, detached tone. "What's so good about Daniel Foster? He was already fooling around before marriage, and after marriage he'd never be faithful to you. He doesn't deserve you." I lifted my head, suspicion in my eyes. Jason Quinn picked up the cigarette case from the nightstand, took out a cigarette, and lit it slowly. His expression suddenly turned serious. "When it comes to marriage, the Chin family's business interests are no weaker than the Foster family's." I narrowed my eyes at him. "Mr. Quinn, what are you trying to say?" He glanced at me and replied calmly, "I know you've always wanted to secure the East District Development Project, but relying on yourself alone will be very difficult. If we get married and work together, everything will become much easier." By then, I was completely awake. "With the Chin Group's capabilities, you could secure the project on your own. Why do you want to share it with me?" Jason Quinn replied calmly, "Maybe because I don't want you to benefit without paying any price." The corner of my mouth twitched twice. After thinking for a few seconds, I took the initiative to extend my hand and said lightly, "Happy cooperation." 40 minutes later, Jason Quinn and I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Looking at the red marriage certificate in my hand, I still felt as if I were dreaming. That's it? Now we're going to meet clients already? Jason Quinn raised his hand, rubbed my head, and laughed softly without answering. We put on diving suits and immersed ourselves in the deep blue sea, feeling the mysterious beauty of the ocean. Brilliant coral reefs stretched before us, schools of fish drifting leisurely within arm's reach. Jason Quinn raised his hand, signaling for me to keep up with him. We dove to a certain depth and looked upward. The sky and the ocean merged into something like a universe beneath the sea. When I went back ashore, a staff member told me my phone had been ringing non-stop. I opened it to check, and dozens of messages immediately popped up. Miss Grace Miller, I'm the manager of DK Bridal. May I ask when you're available to come try on wedding dresses? Miss Grace Miller, I'm in charge of wedding planning. What kind of flowers do you like so we can arrange transportation in advance? Hello, Miss Miller. Mr. Foster has ordered a diamond ring for you at our store. When would you like to come try it on? If the wedding dress or floral arrangements aren't suitable, they can all be adjusted. The more I read, the tighter my brows knit together. Had my phone number been leaked? At that moment, my phone rang again. When I saw Daniel Foster's name on the screen, irritation surged up instantly. I pressed answer. Hello? On the other end, his questioning voice came immediately. Where did you go? I called you so many times and you didn't answer. The company says you took a whole month off. What's going on? I replied flatly. Where I go has nothing to do with you. Don't forget, we've already broken up. Daniel Foster didn't care at all. He even laughed. Weren't you angry because I organized a wedding for Emily Carter? Then I'll organize a wedding for you too. You've already received the messages and calls, right? What kind of wedding dress or ceremony style do you like? Just tell them, they'll take care of everything. I was speechless. Even without seeing him, I could imagine Daniel Foster's expression when he heard that. He ground his teeth. Grace Miller, you're throwing a tantrum over the wedding. Now that I've agreed to hold one for you, what more do you want? Haven't you caused enough trouble already? I'm telling you, this chance only comes once. If you don't want to get married, then don't even think about getting married for the rest of your life. Daniel Foster was always like this. As long as he offered a step down, if you didn't take it, then it was definitely your fault. I let out a cold laugh. You're insane. We've already broken up. Don't call me again. Marry whoever you want. The other end went silent for a few seconds, then suddenly spat out 3 words filled with fury. Grace Miller, this was your own choice. Don't regret it. He really had lost his mind. Jason Quinn had just finished changing clothes. Was it Daniel Foster calling? I took a deep breath and answered irritably, yeah. He thinks I'm angry just because of a wedding, and that as long as he holds one for me, everything will be solved. I must have been blind before to ever like that kind of man. Jason Quinn chuckled softly and didn't say anything. Over the following month, we went to Iceland to admire the fantastical blue ice caves, then took a hot air balloon ride in Turkey, floating among the clouds. After returning home, Lily Thompson asked me out. I applied concealer layer after layer, but still couldn't completely hide the marks on my collarbone, so I had no choice but to take a silk scarf from my wardrobe and wrap it around my neck. The moment I sat down, she downed 2 glasses of alcohol in a row. I'm so furious I could die. Daniel Foster is completely insane, she said angrily. He's booked every electronic billboard in the capital. He even invited A-list celebrities to record videos sending birthday wishes to that Lin Shui woman, broadcasting them non-stop for an entire month. Did he ever once think about how you would feel? I lifted my glass and spoke calmly. I'm married. At first, Lily Thompson didn't believe me, until she saw the marriage registration certificate with Jason Quinn's name on it. Wasn't he famous for being cold and distant, never getting close to women? How did you manage to win him over? That's not important, I said lightly. What matters is that Daniel Foster can't even be compared to him. I truly wanted to see Daniel Foster's expression when he found out about this. Lily Thompson immediately tossed all her anger aside, her face lighting up as she raised her glass. This definitely calls for a big celebration. Tonight's on me. Her tolerance for alcohol was terrible. After just a few bottles, she was already tipsy. I set my glass down. Just sit here and behave. I'll go ask someone to bring you some sober-up tea. Out in the hallway, I ran into Luke Adams. He walked over enthusiastically. Sister-in-law, you're here. Brother Foster is in private room number 6. Daniel Foster and I have nothing to do with each other anymore, I said calmly. Just call me by my name from now on. You guys have fun. Luke Adams assumed I was still angry. What happened last time really was Brother Foster's fault. Just give him a chance to apologize. We're all in room 6, come by for a bit. To get back to private room number 3, I had to pass by room 6. As soon as I reached the door, I heard a familiar voice from inside. Peering through the crack, I saw Daniel Foster lounging lazily against the sofa, the buttons at his collar undone wide. Lin Shiyu sat beside him, her lips red and swollen. Anyone could guess what had just happened. Luke Adams laughed and said, Brother Foster, I ran into sister-in-law outside earlier. Didn't I tell you? She still hasn't let go of you. Didn't expect Grace Miller to last this long without contacting you, someone added. It's only been a month. As soon as she heard you were throwing a birthday celebration for someone else, she couldn't take it anymore and came running over. Daniel Foster's expression was cold. Who told her to come? We've already broken up. You guys should rein it in. This is the first time Grace Miller hasn't contacted you for so long, someone else warned. Be careful. You might really make things blow up. Yeah, Brother Foster, another chimed in. Why not just tell her to go home? Otherwise, sister-in-law might get angry again. Daniel Foster tilted his head and looked at the girl sitting obediently beside him. She lowered her head, her voice as soft as a mosquito. Brother Foster, today is my birthday. I rubbed the silk scarf wrapped around my neck, then took it off, pushed the door open, and walked in. All eyes in the room instantly turned toward me. The marks on my neck were far too obvious. Even under the dim lighting of the bar, Daniel Foster saw them clearly. He suddenly stood up, squinting. What's on your neck? I thought of last night, of Jason Quinn like a mad dog, leaving marks all over my body. I smiled faintly. Hickeys. Daniel Foster immediately kicked over the table beside him, his eyes darkening. Who did this, Grace Miller? You actually dared to go find another man behind my back. And who I'm with has anything to do with you. I smiled mockingly at him. An ex should meet the standard of being as good as dead. He let out a cold laugh. Grace Miller, if I ever contact you again in the future, then I really am a dog. Not long after, Lily Thompson finished her sober-up tea and asked curiously, Why did you take so long? I thought I was going to have to come out and look for you. The sound of smashing objects came from the room next door. I curved my lips slightly. I went to deal with something. Otherwise, having flies buzzing around is really annoying. Let's go, I added. We've both been drinking. Let's call a driver to take us home. Not long after that, the female college student who had married Daniel Foster graduated and entered the entertainment industry, gaining a bit of fame. She immediately hired online trolls to comment under the official account of the Jan Group. President Foster really treats Shuyue so differently. He was willing to hold a century-defining wedding just for her. Not just the wedding, even that rare earth-red pink diamond. Daniel Foster also gave her the gift without a moment's hesitation, advising certain people to know their place and let go, not to shamelessly cling to the title of fiancé of President Foster anymore. Being unloved is what truly makes someone the third party. If you have any sense at all, then you should sincerely wish President Foster and Emily Carter happiness. I couldn't help but laugh coldly at that. My assistant handed me a tablet. Ms. Miller, do we need to delete these comments that are deliberately steering public opinion? No, I said calmly. Investigate Emily Carter's past scandals and send everything to the paparazzi. At the same time, notify all media companies that have business cooperation with the Miller Group that they are not to provide her with any resources at all. Yes, I'll take care of it immediately. And if President Foster tries to interfere, the assistant asked hesitantly, ignore him. Just do your job properly. Less than an hour later, the comment section under Emily Carter's post was being attacked ferociously. So you're the mistress. Sneaking around in the shadows wasn't enough for you. How dare you openly provoke the rightful partner? I was in the same class as Emily Carter back in school. She looked obedient on the surface, but in reality she was vicious. Relying on her family background, she led others in bullying me. My arms are still covered in scars from burns she caused. She even stole an award that should have been mine. So she's always been this kind of person. I once worked as her stand-in on a film set. Any scenes that didn't require showing her face were done by me. Out of dozens of shots, she personally acted in less than a third. The rest were done by stand-ins or fixed in post-production. I used to be her assistant. There was one scene that required going into the water to retrieve something. She complained the water was dirty and forced the crew to buy bottled mineral water and pour it into the pond before she would go in. I have to say, even when assisting A-list stars, I've never had it this hard. The most disgusting one is Daniel Foster, changing girlfriends like changing clothes. A man like that deserves to go extinct. Brother Foster, your little girlfriend has been calling non-stop. Aren't you gonna answer? She's about to be torn apart by netizens. Daniel Foster didn't respond to that question. Instead, he asked, "Has Grace Miller contacted any of you recently?" Everyone exchanged glances. "No. You deliberately propped up Emily Carter to provoke Grace Miller," someone said carefully. "I think you miscalculated this time. The news about you and Emily Carter has spread everywhere. Has Grace Miller called you even once?" "Brother Foster, if you really want to get back together with Grace Miller, just lower your head a bit and give her a call. It won't cost you anything. If someone else snatches her away, then that's on you. If she wants to break up, then let her," Daniel Foster said coldly. "I'm not lacking women to be my girlfriend." That night, I received a message from Lily Thompson. "Oh right, I almost forgot. People in the circle keep saying Jason Quinn likes men. Do you think he's actually capable?" I couldn't help but find it amusing when I read the message. Before I could reply, a shadow suddenly fell over me. "Likes men?" I looked up and met Jason Quinn's gaze. He was looking at me, the corner of his lips slightly curved upward. "Tonight, why don't I prove to you whether I'm capable or not?" Before I could even react, he pressed me down onto the bed. I didn't know if it was because I had been drinking, but my face felt unbearably hot. When desire peaked, I lowered my head and bit down hard on his shoulder. Outside, heavy rain poured down, while inside the room the air was thick and entangled with ambiguity. The phone on the nightstand rang incessantly, as if it didn't know the meaning of fatigue. After we finished once again, Jason Quinn picked up the phone and glanced at it. "It's Daniel Foster. Do you want to listen?" My eyes were slightly red as I shook my head. That man is like a rabid dog. He keeps clinging to me, and it really annoys me. Jason Quinn's gaze darkened slightly. "Then I'll listen." I didn't know if I was imagining it, but there seemed to be a trace of smug satisfaction flickering in his eyes. As soon as he pressed answer, the voice on the other end switched to Daniel Foster's, thick with the smell of alcohol. "Grace, I'm drunk. Come pick me up. I've been making such a mess these past few days. Why do you still not care about me at all?" Jason Quinn let out a scornful laugh. "This is Jason." The line went silent for a few seconds. Then Daniel Foster's voice rose in fury. "Jason Quinn, do you have any shame at all, acting as the third party? We're legally married. Why are you calling my wife in the middle of the night?" "That's impossible." His tone suddenly dropped into pleading. "Grace, come pick me up, okay? Let's stop fighting." I forced myself to stay clear-headed. "Daniel Foster, I've already made myself very clear today. You're just my ex-boyfriend." Jason Quinn raised his eyebrows in satisfaction and, without giving the other side any chance to continue, immediately hung up. Back at the bar, after Daniel Foster was cut off, he remained frozen in the same position, not moving at all. Someone sighed. "Looks like this time Grace Miller really isn't coming back. Honestly, you can't really blame her," another said. "Brother Foster, you've been playing around way too much these past few years. Secret affairs would have been one thing, but you always made such a huge deal out of them. Forget about you marrying Emily Carter. Before that, with that female celebrity, you even gave her a ring. And before that, the secretary you spoiled so much, she ran straight into the Miller Group, making a scene. If I were Grace Miller, I wouldn't want you either. I wouldn't even have waited until now." "Enough, stop talking," someone cut in. "If it's over, it's over. Anyway, you never really loved Grace Miller." Daniel Foster didn't respond. He simply grabbed his car keys and left. The people behind him couldn't catch up in time. He had been drinking, There was no way he could drive. Before anyone realized it, he was already gone. He probably went to find Grace Miller. And Jason Quinn is with her right now, isn't he? Isn't this about to turn into a fight? Jason Quinn suddenly said he wanted to post something to his social feed. At that moment, he was completely different from his usual self, so irresistibly seductive that I didn't know why I ended up nodding in agreement. Less than a minute after it was posted, a flood of comments poured in. Photoshopped. Congratulations. So you finally got what you wanted. But Grace Miller, do you even know how many years he's been yearning for you? Why does this person look familiar? Isn't this President Foster's fiancé? What's going on here? Congratulations, congratulations. Jason Quinn held a cigarette between his fingers, replied to a few comments, then went into the bathroom. Suddenly, there was an urgent knock at the door downstairs. I pulled the blanket over my head, pretending I hadn't heard anything, but the knocking only grew more frantic, as if the person outside wouldn't give up unless the door was opened. I slipped into a black spaghetti-strap nightgown and went downstairs. Guessing who it was outside, I opened the cabinet and took out the marriage certificate. The moment I opened the door, the blush on my face hadn't yet faded. Daniel Foster stood in the rain, completely soaked. Grace, I won't make a scene anymore. Let's get back together. Back then, I didn't think too much. I just felt it was only a wedding, and it wouldn't affect your position as Mrs. Foster anyway. That's why I agreed. Leaning against the doorframe, utterly exhausted, I raised the marriage certificate in front of him. I'm already legally married. All that's left is the wedding. When the time comes, I'll definitely invite President Foster to the celebration. Jason Quinn, with nothing but a towel wrapped around his waist, walked down from upstairs and wrapped an arm around my waist. Daniel Foster clenched his fist and swung it straight at his face. You're my brother, and yet you dared to set your sights on Grace Miller. Jason Quinn grabbed his collar and struck back hard. After all the disgusting things you've done, do you really not know it yourself? She endured you for 5 whole years. You were the one who pushed her farther and farther away, again and again. The two of them lunged at each other, fists flying, neither willing to back down. Standing in the pouring rain, Daniel Foster's eyes were rimmed red. Grace, I'm drunk. Can you make me a bowl of hangover soup? Jason Quinn cursed under his breath and slammed the door shut. He pressed me against it. Outside, Daniel Foster continued pounding on the door like a madman. Grace, when are we getting married? I want a proper status. Back then, your wedding with him was so grand. Our wedding, I want it to be even bigger. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed the corner of Jason Quinn's lips in response. The next morning, I received a call from Luke Adams. Last night, Daniel Foster drove into a barrier. The front of the car was completely wrecked. Luckily, he wasn't seriously injured and is in the hospital now. Sister-in-law, no, Grace, could you come visit him for a bit? He refuses to eat or cooperate with treatment and insists on seeing you. How many numbers does he have? I asked. The other end froze for a moment. Just this one. I hung up and blocked the number immediately. When something happens, he doesn't look for his parents or his current girlfriend, but instead comes looking for an ex-fiancé who's already married. What was that supposed to mean? Luke Adams held up the darkened screen in front of Daniel Foster. Brother Foster, Grace Miller really doesn't want you anymore. She even blocked my number. Daniel Foster stared at the empty chat window, saying nothing. The next day, taking advantage of a moment when no one was paying attention, he left the hospital. Recently, I'd been busy with the East District Development Project. That day, I went back to the apartment to pick up some documents and saw him sitting by the flower bed downstairs, still wearing his thin hospital gown. When he saw me, he immediately stood up and carefully called out, Grace. I rubbed my temples, my voice tired. What else do you want? Perhaps because he was ill, he looked a bit weak. Jason Quinn has had designs on you for a long time. He deliberately drove a wedge between us, and then took advantage of the situation. Do you remember back then, who slipped a love letter into your school bag and made you so angry? What? Back then, Jason Quinn had been cold and arrogant. Everyone only dared to gossip about him in private. No one had the courage to ask for his contact information. The love letter in my bag that year, he was the one who put it there. Daniel Foster continued. He was jealous that I got engaged to you, so he tried to sabotage me. So what you're saying is that he forced you to cheat with actresses and college students? He forced you to hold wedding ceremonies? Daniel Foster lowered his head and didn't answer. Grace, I got soaked in the rain last night, and now I have a fever. I feel terrible. Can I go upstairs and have a glass of water? No, I said flatly. I'm married. I called Mrs. Foster. She arrived immediately and slapped him hard across the face. Why are you still here embarrassing yourself? Take a good look at what you've done all these years. I don't even have the face to look Grace's parents in the eye anymore. Get lost right now. When I came back later, he still hadn't left. Wearing only that thin hospital gown, he drew curious stares from people passing by. When he saw my car pull in, he immediately stood up. I took a deep breath and didn't want to bother with him anymore. But as soon as I reached the door, he blocked my way and held out the jewelry box I had once returned. I never wanted to give this bracelet to anyone else. Can you take it back? I let out a faint laugh, took out my phone, and held it up in front of him. On the screen was a photo of Emily Carter wearing that bracelet, taking a selfie. He hurriedly explained, after you left that day, she said she wanted to try it on. I only let her wear it for a bit. I couldn't be bothered to say another word. I brushed his hand aside and went upstairs. Jason Quinn and Daniel Foster started fighting again. I rushed downstairs, grabbed Jason Quinn's hand tightly, and handed Daniel Foster a box of wedding candies. On the 8th of the following month, Jason Quinn and I got married. Welcome to join us for a celebratory drink. The 4 East District projects officially broke ground, and the wedding preparations for Jason Quinn and me were also underway. That day, I had a headache, trying to decide whether to use all chocolate or a mix of different candies for the wedding reception. Just then, my phone displayed a notification. A friend of yours is live streaming. Out of curiosity, I tapped into the video. Daniel Foster was kneeling on the ground, his knees torn open, exposing bloody wounds. He knelt forward one step at a time, apologizing with each step, calling my name. I remembered when we first started dating, he had once said that if one day he ever betrayed me, he would kneel step by step all the way to the top of Wulak Mountain. Watching this insane scene, I stayed silent for a full minute, then picked up my phone and called him, but no one answered. The comment section of the live stream exploded. It's too late now, what's the point of doing this? Didn't he used to change girlfriends like changing clothes? He enjoyed betraying her back then, and now it turns into chasing his ex-wife like a cremation fire. Wasn't he still lovey-dovey with that actress not long ago? Now he suddenly remembers his ex-fiancée. Even though he cheated first, you have to admit his looks would still rank top tier even in showbiz. I admit it, my values are guided by his face. Grace Miller, forgive him already. Does the person above even have morals? Wishing you a handsome boyfriend who cheats every day then. Grace Miller has a husband now who's even better looking, with a clear six-pack. Yeah, I saw it. I'm not imagining things. I stared at the man in the video. He still refused to answer his phone. If he really were to kneel all the way up Wulak Mountain, it would take at least a full day and night, not to mention how humiliating it was. He just kept repeating the same apology over and over again. Grace Miller, Luke Adams called. You know Brother Foster is at fault, but he still has a fever and his body hasn't recovered. Could you please, out of kindness, give him a call? If you have time to call me, I replied calmly, why don't you just go get him yourselves, knock him out, and send him straight back to the hospital? Daniel Foster continued regardless, ignoring the stares of passers-by, refusing to take any calls and not listening to anyone's persuasion. It wasn't until the following evening that he finally reached the summit, collapsing from exhaustion and being carried down by doctors. I received a call from Mrs. Foster while I was discussing wedding details with my own mother. Grace, she said, her voice heavy, I truly have no face left to ask you for anything, but Daniel only wants to see you once. No one can persuade him. My mother gestured for me to hand the phone to her. Hello, madam, she said calmly. My daughter is about to get married. It wouldn't be appropriate for her to go see your son. How about this? My son-in-law will go pay him a visit instead. They used to be good brothers. Maybe it'll help. Mrs. Foster sighed deeply. If Jason Quinn goes, it might stimulate him even more, but fine. As the saying goes, sometimes poison cures poison. Let's do it that way. I told Jason Quinn to go immediately. At the hospital, I waited outside the ward. The moment Daniel Foster saw Jason Quinn, his eyes reddened. Jason Quinn, I never thought you'd scheme against me like this. Ever since that first actress, I've been falling into your trap, step by step, unable to escape. Jason Quinn sneered. If you couldn't control yourself, who was there to blame? You set all these traps yourself. If not for that, Grace and I wouldn't have ended up here. Outside, the flowers were in full bloom. I took a walk around and didn't listen to the rest of their conversation. I didn't know what Jason Quinn said to him, but a few days later, Daniel Foster stopped appearing in front of me altogether. Instead, I ran into Emily Carter. She lowered her head, her voice timid. Grace, can I talk to you for a moment? She twisted her fingers nervously, looking nothing like the woman who had once hired online trolls to curse me under the official account of my company. Seeing that she still wouldn't speak, I turned to leave. Suddenly, she blurted out, I'm pregnant. I took a sip of my coffee and replied calmly, Miss Carter, what exactly are you looking for by coming to me? Could it be that the child you're carrying is mine? She looked up in shock. It's President Foster's child, but he doesn't want to keep it. Could you help me persuade him? I don't want anything else. I can even return everything he gave me. I just want him to let me give birth to this baby. I let out a cold laugh. You've come to the wrong person. I'm just an ex. Someone he never even married. I have no obligation to discuss this with him. Besides, you don't need to put on an act in front of me. You know perfectly well which matters more to him, the child, or the things he gave you. Emily Carter suddenly dropped to her knees. But he only cares about you. If it weren't for you, he might have let me have the baby. All his friends say you're the only one who could ever make him want to get married. He even gave me a ring. That means he once wanted to marry me. I burst out laughing. Miss Carter, aside from your pink diamond, if I remember correctly, the rest of those rings are ones plenty of people have in exactly the same style. Emily Carter stiffened. That's impossible. You're lying to me. Everyone says I was the woman who stayed by his side the longest. You're deceiving me. So he promised you that you were the only one he'd ever give a ring to? She opened her mouth but couldn't refute it. See? He couldn't even be bothered to lie properly. I cut her off. Miss Carter, don't appear in front of me again, and don't come to my company either. We're not acquainted. On my wedding day, the sky was clear and the breeze gentle. All our close friends were present. Congratulations. Congratulations to you both. I really didn't expect you to marry him. I thought you'd end up with Daniel Foster. Today is Grace's big day. Don't talk nonsense, someone scolded. I think Jason Quinn is better than Daniel Foster in every way. Lily Thompson had never liked Daniel Foster to begin with. On such an important occasion, she especially didn't want to hear his name. Sorry. My mouth is just too careless, the speaker apologized quickly. I simply smiled and didn't take it to heart. Everyone, please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. The wedding was decorated in a traditional style, solemn yet sacred. This wedding robe had been personally commissioned by Jason Quinn. The outer layer was embroidered with brilliant golden phoenix patterns. A phoenix crown rested on my head, tassels of shimmering gold falling on both sides, and an ornate hairpin secured my hair. Every detail radiated nobility and grandeur. With the union of two families, the couple stood side by side, bound together for a lifetime in harmony and shared purpose. After the wedding ceremony concluded, I changed into a reception dress to toast the guests. Luke Adams handed me a string of Buddhist prayer beads that Daniel Foster had gone to great lengths to bring back from Mount Ulao. Brother Foster regrets everything now. If he could start over, he swears he'd cherish the chance and treat you right. Luke Adams kept talking non-stop, completely failing to notice the darkening expression on Jason Quinn's face. I smiled gently and pulled the two of them apart. After a long, exhausting day, the moment I got home, I collapsed onto the bed. Jason Quinn helped me undress in the bathroom, my back pressed against the cold wall. Steam fogged the air, blurring both our gazes. He wrapped an arm around my waist, not giving me time to react, and dense kisses fell one after another.